Alright, greets peeps, welcome back to our Stellaris tutorial, no DLC tutorial. What we can see is that we've gone into the future slightly. I wanted to get our ships on the move, but we've got some things that we need to examine before we let them go away doing their thing. We need to examine the planet. We need to examine our capital, Tyrath. Our science ship has flown across the solar system. Our construction ship has flown across the solar system. This one is 10 days away from jumping over to the new solar system that we haven't examined. And our construction ship is 9% through building our mining station. But we haven't yet looked at our capital, so let's do that now. What we can see in this window is the empire that controls a given system. We can see that it's commanded by a governor, our governor Daisy Garland, who is giving us a research bonus. We can see that it's our empire capital, which gives us a boost to stability, amenities, and governing ethics attraction. We can see that it's a tropical world, for which it says that we have 100% habitability. That's not true. This is our capital, so we get a bonus to habitability here. We've actually only got 80% habitability on tropical worlds, so when we see our first expansion planet, which we'll aim for a tropical world, we'll see that the habitability is only 80%, and that when you're less than 100% you get a penalty to the resource output of a planet. We can see that the planet has a maximum size of 16, and what that means is that we have a maximum number of districts on the planet of 16. 16 is I'd say a good sized planet. Average would maybe be 14, whereas a great planet is about 20 and an excellent planet is about 24. Or they probably use terms like large and huge. I can't say, but 24 is is it 24, 25? I can't remember where we're up to with the patches, but a 25 size planet is great, and you're going to be able to put hundreds of thousands of people on your planet. At the moment, our planet has, I guess, 28 pops, maybe. I don't know what these numbers are meant to represent in real terms. Because 28 million doesn't seem very many. Yeah, it has 28 pops. And our total... No, let's stick to the districts for the meantime. So we've got a maximum of 16 districts. The districts provide different things. They provide housing, or they provide jobs and resources. So housing and clerk jobs, clerks provide trade value and amenities, which make other people happy. Or they provide energy output, or mineral output, or food output. So these are the four basic parts of a planet. A planet can have only these and a capital building and be a quite valid planet, but usually you're going to have a couple of districts and as many buildings as you can have. There's a couple of exceptions of special planet types, but typically you'll have a combination of districts which provide base resources and base housing, and you'll have buildings which provide specialist resource outputs. So what we can see here is that we've got the three highlighted yellow generator districts show us that we have 3 of 6 generator districts, of 6 currently available generator districts. What we can see there, though, is that there's 2 more, which two additional generator districts can be built if blockers are cleared. So we've also got blockers in the mining area, and Nope, we've got no blockers for agriculture. So the coloured slots show us the existing districts on a planet. The empty ones showed us potential. The empty squares slots show us potential districts that could be built, and the crosshatched grayed out diagonal striped slots show us blockers that are preventing us from building any of the 3 resource district types. Will have a maximum on a planet. Those are determined by planetary features, which can be seen in here. Planetary features will boost the number of your resource district types, or potentially reduce them as well. And all of these numbers in here combine to give you a maximum number of types of districts. Oops. We'll also see that there's no actual limit on the number of city districts. The only number on city district, the only limit to the number of city districts you can build is the planetary size restriction. So we could delete all of these resource types and build 16 of these, but we can only ever build a maximum of 8 generators, 8 mining, or 7 agriculture districts on this planet. Typically, when you're building a planet, you're going to look first, or once you've every planet that you can inhabit is worth inhabiting. 99% of the time, that's true. If you can inhabit it, and you have a good habitability rating, it's worth inhabiting. If your habitability rating on that planet type is low, not worth inhabiting until you've got better tech, or until you get a species within your empire who are good at inhabiting that planet. It's getting a little bit confusing given that I can't show you other species types, but if you remember back to when we created our species, we chose the preferred planet type, the preferred the home planet type, I think it's called, and that as it doesn't apply to only our empire, it applies to all empires. So all the empires in the game are going to have different preferences, and we are going to want to have those population types working on those planet types to ensure maximum output from a planet, from the habitability, or from avoiding habitability penalties. I hope that made sense. Other things we should have a look at in the planetary features area. Hopefully all of those make sense. We can see that there's a cost, that there's housing provided by each of these districts, and that there's jobs provided by each of these districts. As I said, 5 housing and 1 clerk job, or 2 housing and 2 technician jobs, 2 housing, 2 miner jobs, 2 housing, 2 farmer jobs. The technicians put out 8 base resource, the miners put out 8 base resource, and the farmers put out 12 base resource. Each of these has an upkeep of 1 per month, an energy upkeep of 1 per month, and each of the districts costs 270 minerals to build and takes 240 days to build. The city district takes longer and costs more to upkeep at 2 energy per month, but is much more efficient at providing housing and much less efficient at providing jobs. before we actually look in the Planetary Features window, we can see that there are two different types of planetary features. There are rare planetary features. There is none of those on this planet, but rare planetary features can allow for special buildings to be built or special resources to be extracted, more accurately, I guess. We'll have a look at one of those later on in the game after we do our time skip into the future. And we can see that there are blockers on our planet as well. We've got two industrial wastelands, which our planet has, which our empire has allowed to build and allowed to happen on our only planet, and sprawling slums, which have occurred on in our empire's only planet as well. And to get rid of those, we can look in the Planetary Features window, and we can see at the very top that we've got these three blockers. This blocker here would take 120 days and cost 300 energy to remove. When we remove that, one of these district blockers would disappear and we'd be able to build 4 more districts. Remove these other 2 and we'd be able to build the total of 6 more districts, or the total of 16 districts, I guess is a better way to say it. So if we had the energy to remove this, we'd get 1 free Tutorion pop created, and they could be assigned whatever job we have available at the time. If we remove this, we'd be able to build 2 more generators, shown there in the cross-hatched guys, or in this case 2 more mining districts, as shown in those 2 cross-hatched slots there. All of these have a build time and a clear energy clear cost. We don't have the energy to do any of these, so we can safely leave those for the moment, but we'll look to do those in the future, particularly the one that gives us a free population. That's excellent. We have a Terraform button beneath the districts area. If we have certain technologies, we'll be able to terraform planets. Terraforming inhabited planets requires another more advanced technology, so we won't be seeing any terraforming anytime soon. Below the terraforming window, below the terraforming window, I guess, is the trade value and the planet production windows. We can see that this planet provides 11.33 trade value, and at the beginning of the game, you directly convert trade value into energy credits. So we can see that up here, 11.33 trade is produced, which gives us 11.33 energy. So the trade is converted directly into energy for us as it stands, and that's a big proportion of our monthly income. We also get 10 from stations, 28 from jobs, and 20 as a base for our energy income, and our energy is consumed by the ships that we have, the stations that we have, the star bases that we have, the buildings, the districts, and the leaders that we have. Other things that our planet produces are listed here. We've got energy, we've got minerals, we've got food, we've got physics research, we've got culture research, we've got engineering research, we've got 3 influence, we've got 5 unity, we've got 5 alloys, and we've got 10 consumer goods. The upkeep from the planet, we use a bunch of energy, a bunch of consumer goods, a bunch of minerals, and a bunch of food and consumer goods. Alongside the districts, we have the buildings area. The buildings are buildings that we've created to provide jobs for our population, and those populations then provide resources for us. In the case of our planetary administration, all planets are going to have a capital building, for lack of a better term. This current level of administration building creates enforcers, provides housing, provides amenities, and provides administrative jobs. We can see details about those when we hover over it. Administrators create unity and amenities, and enforcers create unity, decrease crime, and spawn defense armies. And the base production for these jobs, were they all, assuming they're all filled, is 7 unity output, 16 amenity output, negative 25 crime reduction, and plus 2 defensive armies. The administrative offices alongside that create 2 bureaucrat jobs. Bureaucrats consume consumer goods, and they push out administrative capacity. And the administrative capacity up there, we can see we have a base of 30, and 2 pop jobs provide 20. So this one building here, the administrative offices, does the 2 bureaucrat jobs. Each bureaucrat does 10 admin capacity output, giving us the total from pop jobs of plus 20 admin capacity. If you recall, going over that gives you penalties to tech, tradition, leader, edict, campaign costs. So you want to stay below your admin capacity if you can. Yeah, not entirely true. We're probably going to exceed that in the near future, but you want to avoid that, exceeding that when you want to avoid exceeding it where you can. Research labs convert the jobs base upkeep is consumer goods. So researchers turn consumer goods into research points. I think that's fairly self-explanatory. Metallurgists in an alloy foundry consume minerals and output alloys. And civilian industries consume minerals and output consumer goods. If we click on this open building slot, what we'll see is a whole raft of buildings that are available to us. This will increase as the game goes along. The buildings that we see here are base buildings, and these will actually differ depending on the type of species that you've chosen. If you've got a hive mind, you'll have different types of buildings. If you've got the expansion that allows robot species, you'll have different buildings for them. Lots of different building types are in the game, but they all will provide either housing or amenities or the capacity to convert a base resource such as minerals or energy or food as well, into a different type of resource such as consumer goods or alloys or research points. Actually, I forgot. There's you also have buildings that output unity. This is an important source of unity if that's a thing that you want to get in your game. And admin capacity we've already mentioned. We can also build buildings that provide trade output, and trade output, as I mentioned, gives us more energy output, so that's really important. Some buildings will provide housing. Sometimes they're important. Other buildings will provide defense armies and crime reduction. Those can be important in certain circumstances. You can build resource silos, so you can hoard more of your... You can raise the maximum cap of stored resources. Rather than being 50,000, if I were to build this, we'd be able to store 52,000 or 17,000 of those resource types. You can also increase your naval capacity through buildings. Strongholds Strongholds will allow you to create soldier jobs which increase your naval capacity. So if you're facing off against an enemy who's got a much higher naval capacity than you, building strongholds can be a way to increase your naval capacity. There's more efficient ways to do it. I very rarely do it, but it can be quite important. They also create defense armies, which can be important as well if you've got a planet in a precarious place that your fleets can't protect very well. There's many more buildings, so we'll come back to buildings at a later date, but it's important to understand what these base buildings are. Hopefully that's given a good brief on how they work. The building slots themselves are unlocked by the number of population that you have. So throughout the game you're going to have a fairly fine balancing act of assigning your districts enough that you have enough population to get up to the next building slot, or unlock the next building slot, which will allow you to create a new building, which will allow you to create the advanced resources that you need. So it's a fairly fine balancing act. There's no set process that you should follow for any given planet, because depending on the resource types you have available and the planetary features that allow those resources to be collected, you may need to do very different things for any given planet. That will be made much easier once we've done some exploring and had a look around and have some different planets to compare against each other. So we'll go into this further after we do the time skip into the future. The summation window up here has a lot of useful information. We can see that stability on our planet is at 59%. The higher that is, the better. We get a bonus to stability because it's our capital, and we get 57% of the population on our planet approve of how we are doing. That's kind of tricky to explain, and I'll come back to it once we've gone into the future a little bit. The population approval rating is quite a difficult thing to explain, so we'll go into that a bit later. But be it known that high stability is good, that having 59% stability is giving us a boost of 5% to resources from worker jobs, and giving us a trade value bonus, and giving us an immigration pool, which we'll have to go into in the future. We can see that we've got 28 population at the moment, and that at 30 pops we'll get another building slot unlocked. We can see that we have 1% crime at the moment. That crime is surprising to me, because typically you don't have crime where there's so our governor reduces the crime on the planet, and the enforcer job created by our planetary administration reduces the crime by 25. So we have only 1% crime at the moment. High level of crime causes negative events to occur on a planet, which may reduce stability, and the larger the population, the more likely it is that you're going to have criminals. Amenities increase population happiness, which reduces crime. Hang on, does it? Yeah, so amenities increase happiness, and happiness increases stability. So crime is separate to amenities. Crime is just based on the number of population and is reduced by. Does it say population happiness? And amenities do increase population happiness. So it is reduced. A lot of stuff is very intertwined in this game, and you don't. A lot of it you don't need to pay much attention to, and that's the case here. I've never really closely compared population happiness and amenity output, but I know that the happier your population is, the more resources they output. So I think maybe that's the important takeaway. What we can see after we look at crime and get me very confused, what we can see is that available housing is shown in the next window. That means we've got, at the moment, between the housing provided by our agriculture districts, our mining districts, our generator districts, our city districts, and our planetary administration, which provides 5 housing, we have 6 housing available to our people. They need 28 housing. Every pop needs 1 housing. And we have a total of 29 plus 20 of we have a 34? Yeah. Total of 34 housing available. Amenities are provided by this being the capital, from our buildings. Our buildings provide 10. Oh no, sorry, our buildings provide 5. Oh yes. So this provides 5 amenities. And our clerk jobs, 22 pop jobs, or 22 from pop jobs. So we've got 3 of these. Each of these has 1 clerk job, and then we have 3 clerk jobs. Yes, and then the administrators do amenities as well. So 3 clerks and 2 administrators create a total of 22 amenities, and those amenities are used by people throughout by all of our pop, and that gives us plus 2.4 happiness to our population. Yeah, I'm fairly certain. I'm fairly certain amenities help boost the population approving rating, which helps boost our stability. But I won't guarantee that. I'm fairly certain that's how it works. But obviously, it's not important because I've played thousands of hours of this game, and it's not a big deal. If you have positive amenities, that's going to be helpful because you're going to get more resources. That's what matters. Available jobs. We can see that we've got 0 available jobs. And that's, well, ideally having 0 available jobs is the perfect amount of jobs to have available. But your population is constantly growing. And so I'd argue early on to have 1 job available at any time. In the next window, you'll see why, and I'll come back to that. We can see that we've got no unemployment at the moment, but unemployed population can cause stability problems, and they're a wasted resource. You want all of your population doing something to increase the output of your planets, and thereby the strength of your empire. So we'll come back to those two at some point in the future and examine exactly how they play out. We can see that Tyrath, our capital, is in the core sector. We'll come back to sectors and colony designation and automation in the future. They're not things that I typically recommend using. Oh, sorry. Those aren't things I typically recommend using. And once we've got some more colonies, we'll talk about colony designation then. I think we'll wrap this up here because this video has been quite long. And we'll go on to population and armies in the next one. This has been quite a mouthful and quite a brainful. It's a very important window, the planet window, but the takeaways are that you want to make sure your population has enough housing. You want to make sure your population has enough jobs. Once housing and jobs are fulfilled, you can then start making specialist jobs. You can start assigning specialist jobs like researchers, like administrators, like alloy, like metallurgists, and like artisans, and you can use those resources to do other more tricky things in the game, such as building ships or expanding your borders, or racing through techs, or all sorts of things. So make sure your population, I should also say, make sure your population have enough base resources to do these jobs. But yes, primarily make sure they have enough jobs and enough housing. The food is shared amongst all of your planets, so it's not too tricky to keep under control, but starving population is a problem, and your actually all of your resources are shared between all of your planets. So just make sure that these are in the positive when you're building your planets, and when you're setting up your planets, and you should be fine. But we'll wrap this one up here, and we'll come back and talk about available jobs and unemployment on the next one. See you then.